Hey, you guys, welcome to another video. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Yes, I did go see the movie Gladiator II. It was a good movie. I was looking forward to seeing it actually because I've seen Gladiator 1 so many times and absolutely love the storytelling, the action and all of that. So I had high anticipation for this movie, and I have to say that, I mean, they did a pretty good job. I liked how they kind of tied everything together and brought everything full circle so that hopefully there's no like, okay, Gladiator 3, 4, 5, 6 or a television series. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Let it be. It was a good movie. It was a good story. Let it be. All right. So before we start here, let me be very clear here. It will be some spoilers here. Okay. I'm not going through all the details of the story. Okay. All I'm doing in this video is that I'm highlighting some things that stuck out to me. And as I was watching this movie, I was like, these are some good points. In fact, these are points that I've been bringing up on this platform for some time as it pertains to black folks and how our focus should be. But also having an understanding of how the system actually works. So in this video, yes, there will be some spoilers, but we're just going to cut to just those key parts that I want to highlight. Okay, so number one, the story, it features a character by the name of Macrinus. This was played by Denzel Washington. Okay, so from this point on, Macrinus, that's Denzel Washington. I don't want to keep saying both throughout this video. Okay, so Macrinus basically in this story is portrayed as someone who started off as a slave. And from the slave, he went into became a gladiator. And then from a gladiator, he won his freedom. And then from that, he became like a businessman / hustler. And then, was very successful at that. And then towards the end of the story, we see what his ultimate aspirations was, and that was to become the next emperor of Rome. Now, for your history buffs out there, please, we already know and we get it. The true story of Macrinus, it does not reflect that. He was not a slave. In fact, he came from a high-ranking family. He has a Moorish background, and he was always within the political space of Rome. So, yeah, so they took a lot of creative liberty with this story. But, it's a movie at the end of the day. So one of the things that stuck out to me with Macrinus is that he understood how to play the game. I mean, how couldn't he? He started off all the way from the ground and worked his way all the way up. So everything from understanding how the slaves are treated to how gladiators are treated and how the power that gladiators, how the power of sport and game has on the general population and how that can be used to wield influence and power in other arenas and stuff like that. So he understood that, and he was willing to do whatever he had to do to use it and use however he had to use them, And so he was extremely flexible, Now, I know Denzel mentioned that whole thing about him, the kissing scene, which they did cut out. There was some suggestions of that, but there was none of that. But he was a man that was very, very ambitious, to say the least, and was willing to do whatever or whomever to get to where he had to go. So parallel to that, likewise, when I think about a lot of black folks that you see, that we saw, particularly in this past election, it was a lot of people within the political space. They've been in there for a very long time. They understood, like someone like a James Clyburn, for example. I mean, someone who's been there like almost forever, and Maxine Waters and stuff like that. We may have our criticisms about these individuals, but one thing is for certain is that they understand, they have a clear understanding of how the game works, how to play it to their personal advantage. And so the political space is full of that. We got a lot of black faces in the political space. And, we spend a lot of time complaining about them because we're like, okay, what are you doing for us? Well, when I think about Macrinus, he wasn't going in this thing like, I'm trying to help all black people. He was thinking about himself and his own agenda. And so I saw the parallels right there. I said, yeah, this is you. He understands the game And he's very clear about what he wants to be and what he wants to do. And so, like I said, again, I'm skipping a lot of major parts and I'm focusing on Macrinus. That's all I'm focusing on this little quick video I'm doing. So it came to a point in the movie where he had finally got to this high point, you know, very close to where he wanted to be. I mean, he was like a breath away from being the emperor at this point in the movie. And so he's in the Senate now. You know, he's sitting in the Senate. Now, he gave a very powerful speech, but it wasn't really that I was focused on. What I was focused on was he didn't speak too long. What I was focused on was his first request, because he wasn't shy about that. His first request was, hey, listen, if in order for me to do what I'm supposed to do here in this seat, the first thing I'm gonna need is control over the military. I took special note of that. And of course they gave it to him. It was a short period of time, but you know, they gave it to him. Now, the reason why that stuck out to me is because now going back to today in the real world, as black people, many of our people, we are so enamored, we're so impressed by a lot of these senators or congressmen or congresswomen that are out here that are just, I'm going to tell you something that I'm going to tell you. Y'all don't know what you talking about. You don't know who you dealing with and all of that stuff.
Do you all know your history? Do you know American history? The original Constitution
is because you can then misuse words like oppression. There has been no oppression for the white man in this country. You tell me which white men were dragged out of their homes.
Be quiet. Sit down. You will lose your seat. They won't vote for you. Fight. Don't fight. What the do I have to do in this council in order to get respect as a black woman?
We're moved by that. We're impressed by that. But as I've said in previous videos, do you think the banks are shaking in their boots about that? Do you think the UN and the World Health Organization, or you know, the some of these other governmental bodies, you think BRICS are sitting up there like, oh my God, they got a black woman up there, they got a black man, he's telling them off. Oh, we better turn it off. You think the you know, these different banks and stuff, world banks, you think they're shaking in their boots because we're telling somebody off, or we got that awesome clap back on that we posted on social media? Do you think they're worrying about that? No, we're impressed with it, but they're not. And something I've said a long time ago is this, is that, listen, when it comes to having influence, I mean real influence, not just influence, but influence to make some real changes. What, as black people, we have to understand is this: unless you have a military backing you, all of this ain't doing nothing. It isn't. I'm trying to tell you, we spend hours and hours on social media, be going off on different ones and saying this, that, or whatever, but it ain't move. It's in the grand scheme of things, we are not the ones that designed this system. The people, when they designed this system, the first thing they did was, as they were designing it, they said, listen, we're going to create the monetary system. So that's money. That's how you do transactions with one another, right? Secondly, they said, we're going to build our military. Well, it was opposite, right? It was the military first, then they started doing the banking stuff, right? That came later. And so the United States, out of all countries, has demonstrated that, and they learned that from Rome, that, listen, if you want to have control over something, you got to take it, period. You're not going to spend all your days up here going all this and finger waving and all this other stuff and think that's going to do anything. No, you got to have control over the military. And the military, by having control over the military, you send them wherever you're going to go and say, listen, today I want you to conquer this. Tomorrow I want you to conquer that. Next day I want you to conquer that. Now we're going to get our reparations. That's how we do it. And so looking back at this movie again, Macrinus' mindset, he immediately understood that. He didn't spend all day doing all these long speeches and all this stuff. And so I saw that, and that just really stood out to me immediately. Now, the final thing that stuck out to me was towards the end, where he actually, for the most part, I mean, he literally, his hand is on the throne. And pretty much as soon as he gets there, then at this moment, all hell was already breaking loose in Rome. And this was during the fall of Rome. So there was a lot of stuff going on. I mean, things were burning in the streets. I mean, people were just losing it at this point of time in the story. And so, but here you have Macrinus, who was his focus was, I just want to sit on the seat. That was his whole focus. He finally gets there only for it to kind of self-destruct in all its glory at the end. And he ends up getting killed. And so what I'm saying is that what stuck out to me was is that Macrinus, even though he understood the system, even though he understood how to play the system, he did not design the system. You see, Rome designed the system, and it was Rome that hit the self-destruct button on their own system. Because, you can go on for days on what contributed to the fall of Rome, but it wasn't him. He was doing everything that he was trained to do, but he did not control the system. He just wanted to sit in the seat. And that's what a lot of people, a lot of black folks who are in these in politics and all of that, that's really what it's all about. It's just the imagery is about, I'm here now, and he had the right idea about, getting control of the military. But by that time, it was too late because the self-destruct button for Rome had already been pressed. He didn't have control over that. He may have gotten some limited control over a few things, but ultimately, the people who really controlled the system, they said, man, we're done with this. Bloop. And it's too late. You want to sit on the throne? Okay, go ahead and sit on it. But you ain't going to be on there that long. So the moral of the story, again, the thing that stuck out to me is that we got to stop focusing so much on these, stuff that the representation and the imagery and all of that stuff. And we have to begin to understand that it's the system. The system itself has to be brought down, and whatever that means in its many meanings there, and I'm intentionally not going too deep on that one. But ultimately is the system. It doesn't matter if you change the faces on who sits on the throne. It doesn't matter if we get a whole bunch of black senators or a bunch of black Congress people or a bunch of black judges. It doesn't matter. The system is the system, and is going to do exactly what it's designed to do by those who created it in the first place. And black folks, even though we can claim that all day that we're the foundation of this country and all of that, but that's okay. We'll take that. But we did not control the system of this country. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's the thing that stuck out to me with this movie is that, okay, you got someone that aspires to sit on the throne versus the people who control the system. And that really stuck out to me. So there was a lot of other things, of course, like I said, in the movie. And this, if you want to call it a review, it's not really a review. I'm just sharing what I learned, some of the things that stuck out to me. But all in all, this was a really good movie. And like I said earlier, I thought they did a good job in just kind of tying everything together with the whole storyline. If you're going to see this movie and you're looking for historical accuracy on everything, you're just not going to find it. Okay. It's just there to be entertained. And if you are a history buff, like someone like me, it will motivate you to go into and dig into some of the stories of some of these people that were portrayed in the movie. And like I think a lot of movies should do that for most people anyway. But it was a good movie, and if you haven't seen it, make sure you check it out. As far as the gore and stuff is concerned, I was talking to my daughter, to my wife about it. If you saw the first one, I would say it was probably on the same level. I would say maybe even less, quite honestly. But about the same, that. And then I'm trying to think what else. CGI, yeah, they went a little heavy-handed with that in some scenes, but you just got to overlook some of that. I think that took away from. That's why I would still say that the first Gladiator, in my opinion, was better because they didn't need CGI, at least to that measure, But this one, there were some scenes where they try to throw that in there, and it was like you really did not have to go there, but whatever. But anyway, yeah, so that's my take on it. That was what I got from it. And so check it out when you get a chance. Share in the comment section. What are your thoughts? If you saw it already, what are your thoughts on what I said here? I'm be very interested to hear what you got to say on this. Anyway, you guys take care, and I'll see you in the next video.